You are so brilliant. Heavens, thank you so much, Lynn. Welcome, everybody, to our Thursday book launch. And already I can tell you this is a stellar night. Not only do we have Kim Noriega here, we have y'all. And the people y'all have been so gracious. We're going to have a great open mic as well. I'm Malika Albrecht, and I am the founding editor of Redheaded Stepchild. And I have been fortunate enough to be doing these weekly book launches since March 13th, actually, 2020. That was the first one we did. And I said, well, we'll do this for a couple of weeks and see what happens. Now I can't imagine my life without it. I want to introduce Kim Noriega, and then I'm going to turn it over to her. She is an award-winning poet, creative nonfiction writer, and a teacher. She has won the San Miguel Literary Sala Flash Nonfiction Prize and also has been a finalist for both the Edna St. Vincent Millay and the Joy Harjo Poetry Prizes. Her poem, Heaven, 1963, was featured in former poet laureate Ted Kooser's syndicated, and most of us love this one, syndicated column, American Life and Poetry. She is the poetry editor of the Poetry Distillery and a teaching artist with the Poetry Barn. She is a certified facilitator in the creative regeneration process and an expert consultant in family literacy through the Pacific Library Partnership. She lives in San Diego with her husband, Ernie, and 6 cats, 5 of whom were once feral. And I loved hearing that story of winning over that one female cat. Thank you so much, Kim, for being here. I'm going to put your website in there, so when people want to order the book, they have an easy way to access it.
Thank you. That's great. Great. Thank you so much. Let's see. Am I featured? Can you guys see me, or I can't tell if I'm coming up or not? Let's see. My speaker.
I can hear you. Can everybody else?
Okay, great. Great. Well, first of all, I want to thank you so much for having me here, Malika. I'm really, I'm just honored to be here tonight. And thank you all for coming to celebrate my new book, Naming the Roses. I was telling Malika earlier, I'm just so smitten with the cover, and the book is just beautiful. And it's a joy to me to be here to celebrate with you all. The book is out from Aim Higher Inc. In April of this year. And I also want to thank Juan Mobley for introducing Malika and I. He's the one that set us up. So thank you, Juan. And of course, my executive director of my publisher, Melissa Kiernan, and the book designer, Shanna Compton, and the board of directors, Tina Berry, Maureen Alsop, and Josh Davis. And I noticed that Cindy is here tonight too, and she is the brilliant copy editor on the book. So it's wonderful to be here celebrating with you all. So I'm going to dive right in, and I'm going to begin with the poem that is actually on the back of the book. And a little backstory on this poem. When I was a little girl, I had chronic ear issues. And so I always had to wear a hat. And I had this red hat that had the kind of babushka style, it had coverings for the ears that then tied around the throat. And my dad called it my redbird hat, which I assumed meant that I was his redbird and this was my hat. So this poem is for my dad, and it's called Redbird. Who loves to sing from the blue mountain spruce, who loves to sing to the sprouting grass moon, who needs to sing to the stars as they fade, who needs to sing to her heart as it blooms, qui aime chanter en français des fois, who always will sing to the eagle in flight, who always will sing to the gibbous frost moon, who sang monarch butterflies into the sky, who longs to sing to the wolves as they dream, who never will sing to the rope or the bullet, who sings for you still. And this next poem, all I'm going to say about this poem is that it is a true story. Poem to my ex, in the presence of God or something. You'd been on a bender, 3 days and nights, drinking, riding that Harley. I was sleeping in our makeshift bedroom, a mattress on the floor of our living room on West 52nd Street. I woke at 2 a.m., sat bolt upright, grabbed my .25 semi-automatic from under the mattress, unloaded it, hid the bullets in the flour canister in the kitchen, went back to sleep. You came home 5 minutes later, twisted on tequila and cocaine, pulled the gun from beneath the mattress, put the barrel in your mouth, pulled the trigger. And this next poem is a persona poem, and it begins with an epigraph by Barbara Du Bois, as quoted in Convicted Survivors, The Imprisonment of Battered Women Who Kill by Elizabeth Dermody Leonard. But before I read the epigraph, I want to tell you a little story about the poem. So it is a persona poem. It's not autobiographical. There are parts of it that are, and that's what I call the little secret game of poetry. You know, my first mentor, Cecilia Wallach, she used to talk about the secret game of poetry that kind of helps the poet propel themselves through the poem by playing a little game. And that could be, you know, either a formal constraint or little secrets that you tuck into the poem that others may not know. And in this poem, there are quite a few of those actually, but I'll tell you two. One is that there was someone in my history that called me the girl with slate blue eyes. And also, my maiden name was Andrews. And you'll notice there's a reference in this poem to a song by the Andrews sisters. And so this is the epigraph for the poem. The power of naming is at least twofold. Naming defines the quality and value of that which is named, and it also denies reality and value to that which is never named, never uttered. That which has no name, that for which we have no words or concepts, is rendered mute and invisible, powerless to inform or transform our consciousness or our experience, our understanding, our vision, powerless to claim its own existence. This has been the situation of women in our world. And this is Name Me. Name me the girl with the slate blue eyes, the girl who sits under the apple tree, your apple-cheeked bride. Name me your lover, the mother of your 8-pound baby boy. Name me Sugar Lips. Name me Honey Girl. Name me Sweet Potato Pie. Name me the woman with the black and blue eye. Name me White Roses. Name me, I swear, baby. Name me crushed larynx. Name me fractured mandible. Name me, but I was high, baby. Don't count when you're high. Name me whore. Name me get in that fucking kitchen, bitch. Name me dislocated shoulder. Name me, what you gonna do, have me arrested? Name me, I dare you to try and leave me. Name me the woman with 7 broken toes. Name me the cunt you tell not to make a sound. Name me tramp, slut, ugly ball and chain. Name me the woman you love to get up against the wall and fuck with your 38. Name me the woman who found the dog lying in a pool of blood outside our daughter's door. Name me the one who dug the dog's grave, posted lost signs the next day with our kids. Name me the mother of children who will never be safe. Name me sleepless. Name me the little missus who bought a 9mm. Name me shows no remorse. Name me guilty as charged. Name me not sorry. Name me widow. Name me the woman in cell C15. Name me free. And the next poem I'm going to read is a new poem, which I'm happy to say is featured online as part of the California Poets Project. And that's linked on my website if you want to see some of the other ones that are included, and it's a little series of them. And this came from last summer. I was on my first jury ever. I'd gotten in the room before, but I never actually got on a jury. And so last July, I was chosen for this jury. In fact, I was juror number one, right there, like in the first seat, So, and as you'll hear, first of all, it was a long trial. It was almost 3 weeks long, and it was a horrific domestic violence case. And the only way I got through that, really, because you're not, of course, supposed to speak about this to anyone, and not even your other jury members. And so it was a lot to take and hold, seeing all this evidence. And the way I survived it was by writing about it. I would like dash off to the ladies' room on the breaks and just like write furiously and then go back in. You weren't allowed to keep anything that you wrote in the courtroom. So I would like book it and write and go back in. And that's how I got through that time. And this is one of the poems that resulted from that experience. And it's dedicated to the prosecuting attorney, Alex Lorenz. And it begins with an epigraph from the San Diego County District Attorney's Office. On July 27th, after one-day deliberation, a jury convicted P. Ramirez of all counts and allegations, including attempted murder, attempted manslaughter, and possession of a firearm by a felon. Deputy D.A. Lorenz prosecuted this case, and this is called After the Verdict. Just like that, as if we haven't been required to sit here, to be dragged through the wreckage of these people's lives day after day for weeks. We're up and out of the courtroom. We've delivered our verdict. We're done. We're free to go back to our own lives. But instead, we linger in the hallway, all 12 of us, basking in the palpable relief of the victims, of their family members, of the first responders who saved their lives 2 years ago. One by one, they thank us, hug our necks, weep. I join the line of people waiting to shake your hand, where Sophie, one of the girls the defendant tried to kill, is passing out silk flowers she made in the hospital. She hands me a rose, whispers, "Thank you." And though my part was small, I beam at her. Think of the assertion made by the defense attorney in her closing argument. We cannot undo what has been done. There is no justice. And your reply, no justice? Oh no, there is justice. When I reach you, I begin to cry, explaining that I too have survived, that my daughter has survived. You are kind and tough. You are here, fighting, pregnant, and in 4-inch heels, for justice, for 2 young girls and their mother, and for the young woman I once was, sleeping daughter in my arms, husband's knife blade cold against my throat. And this poem is called Falling. Like a child into his babka's feather bed, boneless, already dreaming of the river, of cool mud between toes, of flight, like a bright coin down the well, still gleaming with the memory of light, like a star, like a wish, like a windfall of plums, like an October night, like our first snow that winter, too early, like an angel, like a stone, like Icarus into Bruegel's sea, quite unnoticed by most, like my grandfather from the chair's hard edge, only a noose to break his fall. And this is a poem for my daughter, Leah, and it's called Contemplating Suicide. While the body of my grandfather swings in the psychiatric unit of Deaconess Hospital, sitting in the cemetery smoking with Henry and Lucinda, 16 and pregnant again, beneath the hunter's moon, 9mm on his knee, with the dust of angels in his veins, as a lover's pact, as a marriage vow, as a little Russian game that daddy likes to play. Click. Hi, honey. Click. Put mommy on the phone. On my daughter's 9-year-old face, cheeks wet, teeth clenched, knuckles white, jump rope pulled tight around her throat, as a family tradition, as a whisper through the phone line, 16 years old, 2,000 miles away. Mommy, I'm scared. I think I took all the pills. As a prayer, pinky swear, stick a needle. As a promise, cross my heart. Okay, we'll lighten up a little now. This is a poem for my dear friend Sarah, who painted the gorgeous picture that is the cover of my book. And a little backstory on this poem. I never had the genealogy book. I worked at the library. There was a genealogy department. It was before, the online genealogy availability, Ancestry and all. It was like you had to dig, but I was never into it. My friend was really into it at the time, a colleague of mine that I work with, but I had none. And then about 10 years ago, I just got bit by the genealogy book. I wanted to find my paternal line back a ways. There were all of these, family stories, theoretical stories. I'm like, well, what is the real story? So I guess it was the story of it that pulled me in. And I found that my paternal grandparents had come from a tiny village in Slovakia, about 3 hours away from where my friend Sarah lived at the time, in the Carpathian Mountains in Poland. And I told her, and she's like, oh my God, you have to come, So I'm like, okay, I guess I will. So I went, and we went to Slovakia together, which was a blast. And this poem, though, is written about walking from the little place that I stayed just up the road from Sarah's house there in Poland. And this is called Green Duvet with Chicken, which is the English translation on a menu in Krakow for a dish that I ordered for Sarah. 1. Oat grass waist high waves good morning as I pass. Elm, apple, elderberry, plum, whose language I speak fluently, welcome me, which makes me feel utterly at home in this country, where the only human words I know are nie rozumiem, I don't understand, and talk, yes, yes, to green as far as my eye can see. Lorca green, how I want you, green flesh, green hair, a sea of green, dotted with poppies, with sunflowers drowsing, clucking hens, a fat brown cow, a woman in a red babushka, raking hay into a stack, a dreaming cat, a cradle of green, green and green and green and sky and I cannot suppress this green bursting forth in me, this green radiance, desire. 2. I'm walking to the store to get coffee, bread. Lou Reed is singing in my ear. He's going out to the dirty boulevard. The clouds are congregating darkly in the sky, and I've forgotten my umbrella, but do not care. For this is the source of my joy, this rain, this water, this life, this green. He's found a book on magic in the garbage can. I spread my wings to embrace the sky, beneath which my ancestors dreamed of me. The verdant pasture, the smell of piss in the bus shelter I pass, and fly, fly away from this dirty boulevard. And the cloud lets down its waterfall of green. I'll read 2 more poems. And this one is called Postcard to My Younger Self Beneath the Apple Trees. I didn't know I loved your hair, loosed from its braid, a golden dervish, or your plump little back, or your laugh like the crack of a whip, or the sound of your voice like a bell on a cold, clear night, or your eyes, those bright, sad stars. I didn't know I loved your knees, crisscrossed with scars from climbing up trees, or your fat little legs. What good could those be? I knew I loved apple blossoms raining down in spring. I didn't know I'd love my face, shining back up at them. And I'll close with the title poem to my book, Naming the Roses. And so backstory on this poem. So Naming the Roses was written as a part of the Visible Poetry Project, which normally, but it was considered a reverse visible poem, because normally what happens is you submit a poem, which I had done, and then when it's accepted, you're paired with a filmmaker who makes the film, of your poem. But my filmmaker that I was paired with dropped out because she had some visa issues. She was from Brazil and she was here and she had to go back. So she wasn't able to continue. And coincidentally, there was a filmmaker whose poet dropped out, but after she had already made the film. So kind of last minute, they paired us up and said, hey, would you guys like to work together? But in reverse, would you write a poem for this film? And I'm like, sure. So we did that and put music to it. We got a person to write an original score. It was really great fun, all by email. And the filmmaker for it is Michelle Zagueros. Shout out to Michelle. And so this poem was the result of that. And the film is on my website. It's also on the Visible Poetry Project under April 2018. It's a beautiful film. It's really quite beautiful. Michelle did a great job. So I was happy to write this poem to go with it. And the other thing you should know about this poem is that all of the headings for the poem are names of roses. And this is called Naming the Roses. Wedding day. Petals tucked for luck in his pocket. Bride-to-be and me, little sea rose, secretly blooming in the ocean of her belly. Birthday girl, look at me. Naked joy, no stone of grief yet cast at my feet. Maman Cochet. At the seaside, we sipped rosehip tea from melamine cups, played ring a ring of roses, fell to tears, laughing. Rainbow's End. You said there was only one path for a woman like me, 17 and pregnant. Dreams didn't matter. Women didn't have choices. beautiful dreamer. I've been thinking, even the shadow of a rose brims with rain and sunlight. Wind rose, what was I looking for? Winter moon, Irish lace, eventide, maiden's blush, you. Heirloom, pruning grandmother's prize-winning canes, I sliced my hand deeply, and there you came, bubbling up crimson in the center of my lifeline. Salt spray rose. Legends say this hardy rose, stowed away aboard a ship that wrecked off the coast of New Brunswick, swept by the incoming tide to shore, she blooms there to this day, wild as a weed. Thank you very much.
Oh, Kim, holy smoke. Thank you so very much. I know I am not the only one that is kind of gobsmacked right at this moment. Feel free to unmute everybody, and you are welcome to just take a moment to say thank you, Kim. It was gorgeous reading of
Thank
powerful,
you very much.
powerful.
Incredible, Kim.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was just, it was a real treat, like Cindy just wrote, to hear you read.
Thank you.
It was very hard not to weep, but
Mhm.
good weeping, you know, because truth is being told.
Thank you. Hi, Anna Laura. I see my friend Anna Laura joined us. Hi.
Oh, great. Yay. Yeah, I have to say, I don't know if you've already put that film, Naming the Roses, what sparked that poem,
Mhm.
into a contest, but I would really like you to
Oh.
consider.
Oh, bless your heart. You know, it's published, so I don't know. I mean, if there's places where, you know,
I
'cause it's
think there is. I'm going to give you I'm going to put it into the chat section, and I will also, it's Down East Flick Fest.
okay, we can do it.
And I would love to see that feature. So I was going to
Yeah.
say, can we
It's
show it? But
beautiful.
I think I think that I think it would be better to do it this way, and I'll connect you with
Yeah.
Celestine
Yeah.
Davis.
Cool. Yeah,
Because
it's lovely. I mean, you know, the poem itself, and you know, came as a result. When you see the film, the poem has even more potency, I think, because she had already had this whole beautiful film all together, and you know, so it was also. We were lucky. It was also picked as one of the 2 poems that was featured on Shondaland.com. So that was really nice. It was featured as a part of the Visible Poetry Project panel. I flew to New York and we did it, you know, so it's gotten some play, which has been great, but
which is fabulous. I would just love to see it get, like Shamala was one of the winners from last year, and we just featured some of the winners from this year, and Shamala was able to come on a Wednesday instead of a Thursday because I already had something booked, and
cool, yeah,
it's amazing. But I just think that
it's a beautiful thing.
I would love to see that. And I love the backstory behind it. And I have to say, one of the things that I found so amazing about your reading is your voice is like incredibly soothing to me. And I don't know but even when you're saying things that are so hard and so painful, and I think for us survivors, it's just you know, it's powerful truths. Like Shamala said, you want to weep, but it's also in a good way because it's the voice of what still stands, what remains, what still holds us in a way. And I just have to say, I'm in awe of that.
Thank you.
The way you capture the details just took my breath.
Thank you. Thank you so much. My beautiful daughter who's here, she calls that my storytelling voice. So I think I honed that on her, actually reading to her when she was little, you know, so she calls that my
Yeah, we're glad you did that, that you
Yeah.
were there for that, because I was able to feel like simultaneously soothed and also like, holy smoke.
Disturbed, yeah.
It would be impossible to take that stuff into the heart without the gentleness of the way you read it.
Thank you.
A different style would not work.
Thank you.
Beautifully said, Shala. Does anybody have any questions for Kim? or thoughts about the reading? I know there's a ton in the chat section. I'll be sending that to you, Kim, so don't feel like
Thank
you're,
you.
that
Thank
way you'll have it too at leisure. Yes, Ron, jump in, please.
So there's a song by Al Green where he's overwhelmed by music
Mhm.
to such a degree. He says, "You're playing too much music for me." And when
Mm,
you were reading Name Me, that just popped into my head. You're
mhm.
playing too much poetry for me. And it was just drilling into me, and wow.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's, I'm cognizant of the impact that that particular poem has on people. I've watched people in a live reading back up, like they lean back
Mhm.
because it comes at you hard, but it's honestly, the research that I did for that poem, not the personal research, but the actual other research, was really tough to take. The stories are horrific. So thank you. I really appreciate that. I think it's important that we don't forget that that's going on out there in the world,
And how powerful it is, Kim, for someone to speak it.
Mm.
I remember when Marge Piercy somebody wrote the rape poem. She wrote the rape
Mhm.
poem. And when I had poems that I could bring to the rape crisis, the survivors that were in our group for poetry
Mhm.
therapy. And that's true for partner violence. To be able to speak this out loud is so powerful because that sense of aloneness and just meanness goes away.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, again, it's back to what you said about naming and how, I mean, that's the whole crux of the thing.
Right.
So, and I don't think you do such a lovely job of the musicality in your work. And that's part of that, kind of sense of being soothed and of using a refrain, but then flipping it in such a way that it is so stunningly like well done that I just again I say thank you for your craft and your gentle and real attention to how you create the poem.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Something about that particular poem that I'm really proud of, and a couple others that I've written about domestic violence, but that poem in particular, I know has been used in men's circles. I had a contact through a group in Georgia, and about men stopping violence, and because we have daughters. And they use those poems in the men's circle to bring the survivor's voice into the room. And that's something I'm really proud of, I'm really proud of that.
No idea.
I think that's amazing. Yeah. Yes, Ron.
Yep. Just one comment on the sense of space in Name Me and in other poems, especially the ones that refer to the weapons and the guns and the danger of that. There was always this sense that I think of when I'm feeling the experience of abuse in whether it's literary or just a report from somebody, but their space is reduced to this minuscule place. You don't have any place to go out to. You're restricted, and your space gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And I think all or most of your poems had that reduced space, that limited movement kind of feeling that abuse victims get.
Thank you. That's a lovely observation I've not thought of or heard before. So thank you very much.
Yeah,
Appreciate
Ron, that really dovetails with how trauma is stored in the brain. I mean, I hadn't
Yes.
thought about that, but that's exactly oftentimes like where the sofa is next to the door. Like there was that sense of containment or where your body is in relationship to like your child. So, that's exactly how trauma is stored.
Mhm.
But yeah, again, I think it speaks to picking up on details and having a beautiful awareness of how that works into the inhabited space of being a survivor, and then also how do you bring that into the inhabited space of writing a poem?
Thanks.
Mm.
Thank you very much.
Well, I think you're going to be amazed with how many lines all of us at the same time would just go, "Oh my gosh, I'm knocked out." And I do have to say that sometimes we're more chatty, but I noticed people got quiet because the poems themselves were so powerful, and that's okay too.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's,
Yeah.
you know,
It was
really
beautiful.
Thank
It
you
was
so
beautiful.
much. Thank you. And
Uh,
thank you.
I must admit, on my part, it was very beautiful and compelling. Every word was very mesmerizing, and I was able to see the details from just you reading it. I I highly encourage you to keep creating. You're one of the most needed empaths in the world that can help shape the world for the better. And I'm glad I actually found out about you today. It's an honor to actually meet you virtually, and you're additional inspiration for the path that I'm going down in eliminating R-word culture and making the world safer for children and women and beautiful hearted souls like yourself. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That
glad
means a
you're
lot.
here. I love what you
Glad
just
you're
said. That's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Anna. Thank you. I just want to back up to Anna. I want to say thank you so much for being here, Anna.
I was looking forward to it.
Thank you. Really glad you're here.
It's gonna sit quiet for a moment because I feel like that's kind of needed right now.
But-
Yeah, Ron, go ahead.
I was just wondering if you, as soon as you, the name of your book, I was wondering if you ever felt or are familiar with the book, have felt resonance with Umberto Eco's The Name of the Rose.
I do know that. I do. And it wasn't, it's not connected now, particularly, although,
Right.
yeah, I can see where you're going with that, you know. So it was kind of an afterthought, I guess, and mostly of a concern of like, is that too close? Is that going to be a problem? You know, but actually, you know, this collection had a few iterations, and it didn't start out as Naming the Roses. It started out as another, you know, thing. Then I reordered it. You know, so it was a long time in coming. But now that you say it, yeah, I could see there's, you know, there's some connection there with like the sacred feminine, I guess, maybe, you know, and yeah, that's interesting. I am familiar. You know, my other life was I worked in a library for 30 years. So yes, I do. Umberto Eco. I shelved that book many times, actually. Yeah. Good. You have great observations. Thank you so much.
I was just thinking, I'm so grateful when people have like these
Yeah,
insightful things. That's
cool.
fabulous.
So cool. Oh.
Did anybody have any other thoughts or questions or things that? Okay.
I am
So
just
we-
incredibly grateful for this book.
jump in. Okay, Lisa first and then Cindy.
Yeah, no, I'm just incredibly grateful for this book.
Well, it wouldn't be here without you. So
Thank you.
And so we take a
But I
moment to
think
say
it would
all
be,
hail the.
but I just love this book so much, and watching it come to fruition is so beautiful.
thanks, Lisa.
And that's when we could take a moment to say thank you, Lisa, for Poetry Barn. All hail Poetry
Yes.
Barn.
Yes. And aim higher. Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Malika, do you mind dropping the link in the chat? Because
For
I
the
was a
book?
little late and I don't see it on my
Sure, I'll do it.
Uh-huh.
No worries.
and I apologize for my lateness. Yeah, we had
Here, you know, I come from the school of thought that if you make it by the end, you're not late.
okay. Okay.
And Regina, can I add you to our open mic?
Sure. Yes.
Okay, fabulous. And Cindy, I noticed you had a thought.
I have a lot of thoughts actually, but my main thought is if you don't have a copy of Naming Roses, you have to get it. It's beautiful. It's much like Kim. It is beautiful inside and outside. And she is one of the most talented writers I know. She knows how to, you heard how powerful her work is. It always moves me. She knows how to, both poetically and in content. And it's a treat for me to actually hear her read, because even though I edit her books and we have a lot of email correspondence, I never get to hear her read. So to see her beautiful face and to hear her soothing, as you said, she does have a soothing voice, especially for this, for the content. So this is really a treat for me, and also to be among the Poetry Barn people. I happen to be taking a Poetry Barn workshop as we speak with Josh Davis and Maureen Alsop, which is fantastic.
Yes.
And Lissa is amazing too, a wonderfully talented poet. Tina Barry, I know her book is out, and
Yes, I tell Henrietta.
so excited about it. And I will give one a big kudo to Malika King Albrecht. I love Redheaded Stepchild. I read it all the time. I love the concept. And I love the fact that you published the poem of mine then, of course.
I was going to say, we love your work. So, Cindy, always send more.
Well, I thought it was funny, that you take poems that were rejected. But
yes.
Yeah.
Poems that you publish are better than, a lot of poems that do
that. When I started it, I wondered what would happen. And I have to say 15, 16 years later, worth it. And I feel like we've published some of me. I mean, I know what we have. And we have had to reject poems, which I think, is inevitable. Because you get hundreds of poems, you only publish 15. And I did hear somebody was going to publish just the rejects of Redheaded Stepchild, and they were going to be bastards of Redheaded Stepchild.
Oh, that's good.
And you're a wonderful poet too, Malika, I have to say.
You are very kind, Cindy.
Oh, and you are
I love your passion for horses and for humanity. So, I do follow you on Facebook.
I know. Yeah, that's where I'm so fond of you from. Is I mean, Facebook to me is actually my social life. I'm very pro. I mean, I've met Christy and Laura and Ron and Regina in real life, but and Cal. Yeah. So I do get out in person occasionally, but I just have to say also, Kim, you brought such a lovely community here tonight. I mean, some people that I'm really incredibly grateful to see.
The peeps. Yeah.
Yes.
The peeps.
And Malika,
pardon me?
Malika, speaking of COVID that you're suffering from, and you're hiding it well, I must say. But I think before COVID, the North Carolina literary community was much more active, and a lot of things kind of died on the vine during COVID and didn't come back, and so there wasn't as much of a choice. And this particular event really is one of the things that fills that gap quite a bit. So we have to thank for that also.
Yeah. Been the highlight of my week, and Regina was kind enough to say she was coming straight from work and rehearsal and all kinds of stuff and was going to fill in for me, but y'all have blundered along with my poor internet, so I am incredibly grateful. And everybody here, I know multitask on not only being an artist, a poet, a writer, but also being a strong community space holder, and that is so important. Much like we were talking about before we started, Kim, that, poetry to me is more invaluable. And what was the quote that you said? Because we were talking about this right before I moved it off. Yeah, that was perfect.
Yeah, it was, I saw the conversation yesterday online with Martina Spada, and he said, that poetry humanizes that which is currently being dehumanized. And I thought, oh, that's brilliant, and And it just kind of gave me shivers actually to think, yeah, that is one of the main functions, right? Is it humanizes because it makes these people real. And he was, he was speaking particularly about his poem Floaters, which if you don't know it, get it, I mean, talk about horrific, right? But he was speaking specifically about the attacks on the Latino community, and which he's very active, and he's a long-term community activist. So, but I thought that humanizes that which is being dehumanized, and I thought that's really important, isn't it? It makes us all actual people with names and families and loves, and so yeah.
And I
A
felt
com-
like it dovetails with exactly what's been done here.
Yeah. A complementary idea to that is how that poetry and all the arts give us something to live for, like science and business and technology and things like that help us live. But there's some famous poet who said this, maybe William Stafford or somebody like that. But art and I think with the focus was on poetry is what we live for.
Interesting.
Yeah, you cannot get the news in poetry.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
William Carlos Williams, but
Yeah.
people
Right.
died from what is died for lack of what is therein or something.
Yeah, but people die every day for the lack of what is
Thank
there.
you.
Yeah,
I couldn't recall the reference, so thank you.
it is William Carlos Williams. Yeah, that's what I thought of when you were saying it. Yeah.
Yeah, same. But I could not catch it again, Kim. I'm of a certain age. It just slipped.
Yeah.
I feel like we can move into open mic, and I just want to say I thank Juan for connecting us. I can't imagine
thank
not having
you.
had
Thank you
this
so
night.
much. Thank you very much.
It's
Appreciate
beautiful.
it.
And did put the connection for Poetry Barn, so you can take a class if you want to, and we can connect with Lissa as well. And I will put Kim's again website there so you can get a copy of the book. I have Ron up first, and rather than spotlighting people, I'll just let people talk because it'll take me so long on this computer. So it'll just go to speaker.
Okay, so this poem is called Small Graces, and I think I identify with the Wild West a little bit. It's one of the things that I get an emotional tug, not so much the cowboy films dramatizing it, but just that lonely sense of the West and all. So this kind of like resonates with that a little bit. It's called Small Graces. The rope let down when you stumble into the gully. The smoke curl shanty on the never-ending trail. Your old sidekick galloping up when you're riding solo. The earth whispering its secret in your ear. I don't know the name of the shadow that bides at the bottom of everything, but I know how suddenly the water surges from her well and how cool it feels going down.
Wow. I love that, Ron.
Thank you.
Had a whole nother mix too with the Western North. I mean, just that was powerful to me. Yeah, and the earth whispering its secret in your ear, that just hit me hard. Cindy, I have you next.
Okay. I'm gonna do a little brag about my last chapbook, Telling You Everything. It was published by Unleashed Press, which is Jen Knox. I don't know if any of you know her, but she's sort of peripherally associated with the Poetry Barn because her work partner was Alexandra Vanderkamp, who taught at the Poetry Barn. So, and she's also a client of mine, who isn't. I'm going to read the last poem in this book, and it's had a weird trajectory. It was the first pushcart nomination I ever got. After all these years of writing, you know how everyone puts in their bio, I was nominated 800 times for Scott. I didn't have one. But Jeffrey Cypher's right at Live Mag liked the poem, and he published it, and he gave me a pushcart nomination. Then I was contacted by Terrence Winch, who does the Best American Poetry blog. And he said he loved the poem and he wanted to publish it on Best American Poetry. I'm like, you know, I met David Lehman, 100 years ago. I wrote a review for one of the volumes and we met at his cocktail party and blah, blah, blah. But I never thought he ever read my poetry. I don't think he liked it anyway. So this poem has, it couldn't be sent to Redheaded Stepchild because it got published. It's called Inner Life with Sabotage. This poem will be intentionally vague. Candle wicks flicker, chemicals misfire, crossed wires refuse to untangle. Sometimes I slip into something less comfortable. Carousel horses and streetlights make me weep deeply. My handsome father's death has turned into stilted breath. My benevolent brother's death is still caught in my throat. Everyone gives me flowers to fill the fissure between limbs and loss, and I bury them under layers of what? Nothing but my own undoing. A startled and startling voice tells me to go even deeper than this. Onyx and obsidian wrestle it out with a chest full of white diamonds. Frankly, my dear, I've had enough of dancing through the murk with my not-so-better angels. Excuse me while I remove this battering ram from my solar plexus. Let me open my palms to the hazy sunshine. I promise I will stop shaking soon.
Holy smokes. Yes, just awesome. Make sure you're checking the chat section after you read and send definitely, because I want y'all to see people's comments.
Thank you very much.
I always say we have the best open mic and y'all are freaking proving it tonight. Christy, it is up to you.
Okay. So let me say this poem is a true story, but it's not about me because the last time I read it in an open mic, somebody came and knocked on my door to check on me. So I don't want that to happen again. So, but since we've been talking about domestic violence tonight, I did have a neighbor that was able to escape, and I don't know where she is now, and that's probably safer. So the floor above my ceiling weeps. Overturned furniture scrapes her skin. A flung body mimics a sucker's punch. Pinned wrist and strained ankles bruise mapped out hiding spots. Chewed open by a rug's frazzled fringed teeth, left to suckle blood from the open mouth of a cracked skull. Thank you.
Christy. Holy smokes. Yeah. Yeah, mapped out hiding spots. That's stuck with me a lot. Definitely, again, check the chat section. Lynn, I am headed your way whenever you're ready.
I am ready. Thank you. What an evening. What an amazing group of people. And Kim, it's really hard to sort of come back and be fully present after that. It was so powerful. My poem is called Tabitha. Pressed roses and peonies I always thought it peculiar to do that to those tender petals, the wheezing of a book closing on such delicacy, petals dried, then scattered to waft their perfume. Tabitha found it and called me to witness, pressed against our house, the skeleton of a fawn. How had we not known? No stench, dried, skin and muscles gone, bones unmoved where she lay. Later, flagstones, dust and leaf swept, the sky uncaring against the care with which she lifted the bones for burial, the ivy planted where we found the fawn's remains.
Wow. Just powerful. I just love, you know, all of that. I mean, yeah, somebody just, oh, I was me. I wrote, damn, Lynn. God, okay, I am addled with my COVID. I thought, I was going to say somebody just wrote what I was thinking, but it was me. Oh, Lynn, that was powerful. The image and the pressed flowers, that stuck with me. I never thought about how really odd that is. Cal, I am headed towards you. Make sure you unmute.
All right. This poem was in the Poetry in Plain Sight program for public display. So put on by North Carolina Poetry Society. And was it the Winston-Salem Poets, I think? Or
It was
anyway.
started by Winston-Salem.
Yeah. Yes, it was. That's right. It's called Panic Ensues. His heart is beating in his ears. His blood flows like electric current, and his nerves go watery, rushing fluid power from the high center of the brain, flushing through his nerves to the pads of his feet, which swell. He is hyper aware of every hair he ever had, through spine, but not through bones. A current runs down the center cord and nerves. The stream in his spine is conductive, and all he is doing is watching election news on TV.
Oh, wow. That last line put it in a whole new context. I'll do, yeah, powerful. Discovia, and make sure you unmute if you can. Hopefully, because I know he's multitasking with work. Okay, we might come back to him. Shyamalan? Oh, okay, we've got you.
My apologies.
No worries. I know you're at work. So I was a little worried I had bad timing.
No, don't worry. You know what? If you don't mind, I'll go after the next person. I just have to pull up my poem real fast.
No worries.
And it's not going to be possible with both apps running. Thank you for your time, though.
You are welcome. We'll be fine doing that. We'll go to Shyamala and then we'll come back.
Yes, ma'am.
Shyamala,
y'all know how much I love my own voice, but I'm going to read something written by someone else. Kim, I don't have words to describe what your poetry did, but I think we're all broken open in a good way. You had a line, denies value and reality to that which is never named. And we know another thing that we're not naming from, you know, Ta-Nehisi Coates being bullied on national TV for saying what he saw in the Middle East. And there is now the first tenure-track professor who has been fired for sharing an Instagram post from a Palestinian poet. So in honor of that, I'm going to read, I can share the link on that from Jewish Voices for Peace. And the professor's name is Maura Finkelstein. So, you know, she's not exactly a Hamas terrorist, but there we go. And I'm going to read a poem from an Iraqi poet who lives in Wales that's making the rounds, and y'all may have seen it, about that boy in the hospital tent who we all watched burn on TV. It's called Not Front Page News. and it's by a poet called Abir Amir. And there's the interview with the father of the beautiful boy who went in a blaze. Shaban, the boy who didn't make it to a front page, even though we all saw him on fire as a patient in bed. The back of his head, his raised hands, his IV line, and the burning tent. The tent he'd made for everyone. We saw him engulfed in flames, the boy who spoke of his dreams, the boy who was gone, a few days shy of 20th birthday. We heard the fire crackles, the oxygen tanks exploding, the screams as helpless onlookers watched him burn. We watched them frantic, trying to put out the flames with half-empty buckets of water. We watched his slow movements. Surrounded by white and orange and yellow and black, the father explains how his son was not just his son. He was his son, his brother, his best friend, his shining light, his everything. His boy who deserved all good things in the world, who knew the Quran by heart, who was top of his software engineering class. The father, whose head is bandaged, his blistered face covered in creams, says he was unharmed. His voice croaks from the smoke he inhaled. He says how he thought he saw Shaban awake that awful night as the others slept. He thought he'd be able to escape to save himself. He rushed to rescue his other children as they slept. He says a fireball from the depths of hell roared between them, between him and Shaban. He says the last thing he saw of him alive, as his own right hand was on fire, was his son sitting on the bed, skin melting, raising his index finger. One God. He repeats the last words he said to his beloved. Forgive me, oh my son, forgive me. I can't save you. I can't do anything. The poet, again, is Abir Amir, who is an Iraqi poet based in Wales.
Thank you,
And
Shamala.
that's a link to a post.
Yeah. Thank you so very much. Gosh, that hit exactly what our discussion, everything we were talking about. Forgive me, all my throat is completely gone because somehow I was crying.
It was hard to read, and it's not even my own experience. I cannot imagine what.
I think that you can. And I think that that's why it was hard to read. And I think that's why you chose it. Because we can feel that, right? To be human, to be inhabiting a human body. And that this is exactly what Kim was talking about with Martin Espada. To humanize what is being dehumanized.
And that we live in a time that a professor can get fired for sharing an Instagram post of a poet is insane.
Yeah. I'm gonna head to Discovia, who has I can see you can access us now. I'm gonna put it to
Yes, ma'am.
all yours. Glad you're here.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be part of this open mic. It's an honor to meet you all. Glad excuse me, I bit my tongue there. I'm glad you all are doing well and being safe. I'm just going to present two pieces if I may. The first one's kind of lengthy. Speaks a lot on the issues that we have in the real world regarding, our word culture and enslavement of children, which is something I'm still actively fighting against to this day. This poem enough, I feel like it goes into a little bit of elaboration. Without further ado, I'm gonna read this all for you. So, Black lives never mattered, huh? And hating on Asians is doing what for you as of now? Latino community, I feel your pain even more so still. Please stop stressing me about what this supposed white privilege is when it's all colors that bring light to everything that I enjoy and live for. Now, I never wanted to admit it, but I hate going to Walmart. Riddle me this, right? While we own land, we're living on a rock that's flying in space, and yet we find it necessary to fight over space dust. Womp, 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 womp. Now, I probably sound like an adult talking to a child from the Peanut series if I interest you, but forgive me, my English is not perfect. For all of us was forced to make a place not meant for us home. United in the States we stand, I guess. But I refuse to become conditioned and confined to a state of mind where I should withhold my opinion or not fight for what I believe in. Now, when it comes to you, believe in your story because it holds your purpose. And when it comes to any of us, you can listen to whoever you want. Live your life, have fun, and be free. Scovia, you should take your own advice. But you know, it's so hard to hear you over the fact that my ideas crash into thoughts of doubt, my brain constantly screaming at my heart, nobody listens to me. Misunderstandings occur. It's not about what is said, it's the concept that we're missing over here. Our words can cast spells, so let your actions take you to great lengths to succeed and prevail, because there's only so much words can do on paper or in text. Right? Now, what is right from taken from all that is left? Now, see, I've been holding my composure all behind this mask because I feel like I'm better off anonymous. All sides of me must stay dominant. Navigate nicely through the nonsense. I feel like there's no other option but Thank you for the blessings, but I am allergic to BS and I'm ignorant and intolerant. Now, I'm not religious, but I notice there's a war going on between the Christians and agnostics, but what could a God do if he interfered? Because an interference could raise a universal conflict. Now, I do believe, I have faith in the future. Big brother, what is it now? Our future leaders? I'm probably looking at them for all I know. Do we fight the system? Do we override the system? System error, system error, system error. Just stop. Time to reboot. Allow me to plead the fifth at least. Now, I understand the difference between polar opposites, but you have all these people in control. So who's going to be the one to break these chains? Because I'll break a wall before I burn a bridge. Abolish child slavery and end rape culture, because I never supported any of this. Now, hear me out. I prayed for strength. I promised my future children before life was even given. My inner peace will benefit more than just one life. So please, my advice to you is keep living. And I'll never do anything to jeopardize anyone's security, because safety and love should be normalized. Now, you see, times have changed. People remain the same. And we're still searching for love when it exists and it's around our essence. And maybe that'll be our biggest struggle as humans. But y'all bicker about not having common sense when it's not even localized or fully utilized. Now, there are matters in which myself, on any degree, I cannot come to terms to offering helpful hands to just compromise. But when it comes to the movement, I will seek the truth in all these lies. We're a part of a movement that's on the rise. When it comes to these babies, I'll live for these babies. I'll die for these babies. The evolution is coming. A new wave of change. The light of a glorious star. That's the title of my book, by the way, dedicated to my son. The light of a glorious star lives in more than just one soul. And I have to put my foot down when I say the time is now. Enough is enough. Thank you all.
Holy smokes, that was fabulous. Will you put a link to your book if it's available? And yet, make sure you check the chat section, because we kind of went on fire there, Discovia, with comments. I don't want you to miss it.
Thank you very much.
I don't want you to miss it. Thank you for being here. I will
No problem. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm glad I'm glad we all are here, to be honest. This has been amazing.
Today was wild.
Yeah, Bob, I have you next, and then I have Cindy, and we will end with Regina. Make sure you unmute, Bob.
Okay, and I'm actually here because Cindy told me about Kim's poem, so.
Great.
This is a very short one. What? What we see is the man who is not yet a bear, the sky that is not yet a garden. What we see are the footsteps left by the night before the stars can intervene. Thank you.
Love that. The footsteps left by the night. I was trying to type it in there, and then I was like, oh, gotta hit send. Beautiful.
Thank you.
That's gonna stick with me. Cindy, you are next, and then we will head to Regina. Make sure you unmute, and I will. Yeah. And whenever you're ready, Cindy.
read?
Yes. Oh, you did. Why is my brain on fire? Well, we know why. Never mind.
You got my poem already? Huh.
Yeah. No, I was. I actually.
I'm not talking to you anymore.
Oh, I see. This is when Ron was saying you're doing so well. We could barely tell you have COVID. Now you know. This is way past my ability to stay focused. I'm so sorry, guys. Regina, I have you as our final reader for Open Mic.
Thank you. And Malika, I'm telling you, get you some rest and
Wow.
good juice and all of that. I hate to see you like this. Oh my goodness, but you get better. If you need me, I'm here, right? I'll come to you. This poem is actually a poem that's going to come out of my book that comes out in January. I will have a new book coming out at the end of January entitled Whispers from the Multiverse. That will be my first full-length collection, and I'm really excited about it. I have, for some reason, been wrapped up in this theme. It's entitled Black is a Well. And so I have several poems that have been written under that theme. One of them got the honorable mention for the Apple White. And so that's coming out next year as well. So I'm kind of excited about it. The title of this poem is Black is a Well, Multiverse Interlude. Many times I sit high on the hilltop as the sun begins its descent beyond the sea. And in the times that this glowing orb has escaped my view, I've considered the whys of the world. For as far as we have gone, we've not gone far enough. The hate seems to never stop its flaring. I think this as sure as the rising and falling of days that seem stuck on sameness, too often bittered by the sadness of a moaning earth. Will we ever reach enough? Will it ever be enough? And then, as sure as the day leaves, night stars begin piercing and pinlighting the sky. Tides roll in and out, and universe's sultry refrain melts my moments of fear and brings me back to life, still sitting high on the hilltop, waiting for more to come. I still myself for the cosmos to whisper, to sing, to run hope notes like rivers dancing in my head, to pouring like Jacob's well straight down into my soul, living water, lighting it on fire, whispers to flames. Black is a well, a sanctuary of solace, a space for refueling, pouring buckets of relief like living water rain down in ancient days. Black is a well whose life extends from the holy shores and stretches down like a track running to find a blanket like home. Black is a well, a reservoir full of rheumatic hands that stitch together quilts of reflection and direction that points to a new home. Black is a well whispering the way, a way paved around and beyond, following moonbeams and stars singing in the pause of heaviness and hope that floats like whispers from the multiverse, welling and swelling in the endless night air again and again.
Wow, Regina, gorgeous.
Thank you.
I have to say, everybody that read, y'all just did an amazing job of keeping and amplifying that space of humanizing. I just am really glad we were here together. And Kim, thank you for joining us, for letting us celebrate your beautiful book with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. It's been a beautiful, beautiful evening. Thank you all for your beautiful poems. What gifts. Yeah, and thank you so much for having me. And gosh, I hope you feel better and that your dad stays well. Yeah.
Yeah. I know I'll feel better once I can see he's feeling better.
Yeah.
Everybody stay safe, and I hope to see you next week.
Yeah.
Thank you for being
Thank
here.
you all. Thank you so much. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.